Welcome into the Cover 3 podcast. My name is Sterling Bennett. Alongside me is Aaron from 49ers First Takes, Dre from Dre Area Sports, and Mike from the SF Gold Rush. And we have a loaded show ahead of us. Eddie DiBartolo taking shots at Jed York. Who will San Francisco's next defensive coordinator be? And should they trade away Ricky Pearsall and Bernardo Green? Stay tuned for all of that today. Again, a loaded show ahead of us. But Aaron, Dre, Mike, how we doing? It's Friday. To some, it's a payday Friday. How we doing, guys?
It's going good, man. Going good. Unfortunately, I mean, nobody wants to step up. So I'll be the first one.
Somebody, there's three of us.
I'll be the first one. But no, I mean, it's good besides the fact that the Niners are not playing next weekend. But other than that, we have off-season news to get to already and new coaching. So, yeah, there we go.
Okay, Dre.
Good. I have to work in a little over an hour, so I'm not too excited about that, but excited to talk about the Niners, I'll tell you that.
Aaron?
Off-season stuff isn't the sexiest stuff to talk about, and I think we're probably going to blow through most of it this week, so just enjoying the content while it's here.
Hold on, Aaron, don't do that, because you know why? Because from here on out, it's all off-season talk. You've already shit on it, and now we have to lay in it for the next who knows how long.
No, it's just that this is a big week. It's the Super Bowl week, and then it's going to be a little bit of a break. You know what I mean?
It's Pro Bowl week. It's not Super Bowl week.
Yeah, it's Pro Bowl week.
You cannot tell me
Niners have players playing. Right?
You can't tell me you don't want to see Shadur Sanders out there and Joe Flacco tossing the rock around in the Pro Bowl.
You have no idea. That's
the Pro Bowl.
So
Shadur
exciting.
Sanders on the bench. This time it counts. Remember that for the MLB All-Star game?
Oh my God, dude. It never counts. It never counts.
Well, it kind of did for the Giants because they got home field advantage because of it. So it was a blessing for them.
Now it never counts. But anyways, let's
Did they get rid of that in Major League Baseball? Did they get rid of the...
Doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, that was the dumbest thing ever. But like I said, it worked out for the Giants because they got home field advantage twice in the World Series because of it. And one of which... when we played against the Tigers, it was because the Giants players balled out in the All-Star game, which allowed them to get home field advantage. So
we won't dive into the mechanics of Melky Cabrera taking steroids and getting suspended today.
Melky.
But
or the Harrison Bader move. We'll just...
Hey, man, it's a good signing if you ask me. But
he's a gamer.
Let's dive into the Niners defensive coordinator search today because that probably is the most pressing need for the team right now. You have your offensive mind in place and Kyle Shanahan. Clay Kubiak is returning to San Francisco in 2026. Who knows how long that lasts, but it's happening for at least one more year. But you lose Robert Saleh. It's a big loss. You lose one of the best defensive minds in football. But San Francisco, although are kind of dragging their feet if you ask me, have interviewed 3 candidates for their vacant defensive coordinator job. The first guy being in-house, that being Gus Bradley. The next 2 guys are external candidates, and Raheem Morris, the former Falcons head coach who got fired during the year, and Joe Woods. He was in Cleveland for a short spell. He was also in San Francisco back in 2019. What do you guys make of these 3 candidates of that grouping? Who'd be your pick? And is there one you're saying no to? Aaron, let's start with you.
I don't want them to make the safe hire, but in my heart, if I'm truthful with myself, I think that's what they want to do. They want to get somebody in here who's going to be here a while. The names out there, like the Raheem Morris's and the Jim Schwartz, two really as I would say, sexy names. I personally like the Schwartz idea more than all of them. And then Raheem, and then you could put Gus and Joe Woods in any order. It doesn't really matter. But I personally think, and I know Mike can agree with me, we know where they're going with this, and it sucks. But hey, at least it's taking time to make us wonder, even though they kind of probably already know where they're going. So there's that.
Well, let's jump to Mike for a second because he thinks he knows who they're going to hire. Mike, who would be your pick, but who do you think San Francisco eventually kind of settles in on as their next defensive coordinator?
Well, I mean, obviously Jim Schwartz, that would be the most amazing hire. We have a division filled with Shanahan-type offenses. And who's the kryptonite to Shanahan offenses? Jim Schwartz, right? So what better hire would it be than to get him in here and help level the playing field a little bit? But I think we all know where this is going to go. Gus was brought in with Saleh as that backup plan, that fail safe for when Saleh leaves, they can have somebody waiting in the wings. And I really honestly think he's already implemented himself into the system. They like what he brings, and it's probably going to end up being him, unfortunately. But they haven't made an announcement yet, and they've fulfilled the Rooney Rule, so there is a glimmer of hope. Maybe they're waiting to see how this breaks down with Jim Schwartz. If there's a eventual breakup, they can't really talk to him yet because he's still under contract. All that nonsense going on. So let's see how this breaks down. But I think I know where they're going.
All right, Dre.
I think that the Niners will. There's going to be two guys that they're going to go with. Okay, I think the one that they're likely to go with is Gus Bradley. Why? Because he's already in the building. He's already worked with their set of coaches. I think they don't want to shake up the entire coaching staff. They like Chris Kosarek. They like the guys they have in place, right? And so I think that, they like KJ Wright. I don't think he's gone yet. I know Daniel Bullocks was listed as not a part of their coaching staff just recently, like a day ago. So that maybe he's gone. I don't think Joe Woods is a contender for that position. I see someone in the chat saying maybe he'll be our coordinator for the secondary, possibly. But I mean, if he's trying to be a defensive coordinator, why would he be? Oh, just do a lateral move over. I think Gus Bradley will be their choice, but the wild card in all this, I don't think is Jim Schwartz. Although I think it'd be really cool. I think Raheem Morris is probably the guy that Shanahan is the most familiar with. He's coached with him before, and I think that bringing in Raheem, again, he'll allow some of those guys to stay there. Some of the guys that are already on the coaching staff will remain because he knows some of these guys. So for me, it's going to be Gus Bradley. Second would be Raheem Morris.
It does seem like the Niners don't like shaking the boat too much, right?
They never do.
Never do. It's always the safe option. It's always the safe pick. You go back a couple years ago when they let go of Steve Wilkes, the answer was panic Nick Sorensen. And that was the move. Obviously, it was a terrible decision. Granted, it probably wouldn't have changed much after the injuries the team had, which, wow, new year, new story, right? But I do wonder that even if Gus Bradley was the succession plan, if you will, if that was let's have the long view, get a guy in we know Kyle likes, we trust him, he can at least be kind of a plug and play dude for a year if we don't find the guy. I don't know if the Niners counted on Raheem Morris and Jim Schwartz now being available. And I don't know about you guys, but if I get new information, that should change things for me. That should change the process for John Lynch, Jed York, and the front office out there in San Francisco. So now with the new information at hand, yeah, you might like Gus Bradley, but I at least personally believe that Raheem Morris is better than Gus Bradley, and Jim Schwartz is a top 5 defensive coordinator in football who's pissed off, doesn't want to be in Cleveland. And if you're the 49ers, with everybody else's DC spots basically filled besides the Raiders and the Cardinals, you can say, we have the most to offer to you. Yeah, it's great weather. There might be a substation behind the stadium. Who cares? We win 12, 10 games a year. We're always in the playoffs. You don't have to worry about the offense at all. Like, you want to lose in Cleveland forever, or you want to go to the playoffs annually? You want to go take down Matthew Stafford and the Rams? You want to show off against the Seahawks and Sam Darnold, who may come into Levi's next year as a Super Bowl champion? Imagine that on Jimmy Schwartz's legacy. I think they have so much to sell him, but my real concern is that Kyle's already in Cabo. And he's like, whatever, job's done. Gus was always the guy. He was brought in to be the guy at their Saleh, and they don't make an alteration. I don't want this team to play things safe. We'll get into Eddie D's comments later. You had the retooling offseason last year. You got $25 million in cap space. You can make $58 million in cap space. You got a 38-year-old left tackle. You got a near 30-year-old running back coming off 450 carries. You have a quarterback that has never been healthy for a full year. Let's get nuts. Let's get creative. Go get the best DC in football and the best OC tandem in football you can possibly find. And probably the best this team has had since Harbaugh, Roman, and Vic Fangio. Why would you not want that? That team almost won a Super Bowl And I can argue that'd be the best DC Sala or Shanahan's ever had in San Francisco. But do you guys have the concern that they're going to be complacent and go, whatever, Jim Schwartz is out there, fine, but we like Gus Bradley enough, and just good enough is what they want to do in San Francisco. Aaron, what do you think of that?
There's part of me that thinks that what you just said would be an intriguing sell for Schwartz. My fear is if you bring in someone like, say, Morris, and he does really well, he's probably going to get another head coaching gig again, right? So that might scare me off of him. Schwartz, to me, is the best of the candidates, and I think is the most likely to be here and stay here. I don't think he's looked at as a head coaching candidate, at least not what I don't know what you guys think, but I don't see Schwartz as a head coaching candidate. He hasn't been one for quite a while either. So, but the Niners always seem to kind of sell you stuff at the end of the year press conference to get you kind of excited. And then they just kind of do the same shit every year. You know what I mean? They play safe. They hire from within. I don't know, man. Like the fact that you said Kyle's probably already in Cabo, man, that really bothers me.
I hope
everything in this team is so like, I know, yeah, you're right. Playoffs every year have a chance to work on a team where you only got to worry about the defense. But like, man, this team does stuff so much like repetitively and like the same thing, it's like eating the same 5 meals every single week. You know what you're getting.
It's a great weight loss plan, but not a way to run your franchise.
Right. It would be great to see something different, because then it would be like, wow, they're actually serious about this. Like they're not just talking, they're actually going to do it. But I'm just like, Mike, it's going to be Gus Bradley. There's no doubt in my mind.
I mean, if they hire Morris and he's good enough to get a head coaching job the following year, hey, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, right? That's a good problem to have. But, even if Kyle's in Cabo, as long as he's not on a fishing boat where he's not getting service, I'm sure all these interviews happen over Zoom or, over phone calls or whatever. You can call Jim Schwartz or have a third party call him so you don't have the tampering thing. Figure it out. Just be in a spot where you're not, where you're not in the middle of nowhere, where you're not getting service like you did with the Matt Stafford deal and miss out on that. So just make sure you're on the hotel's Wi-Fi and WhatsApp and have them hit you up, and don't miss out on Jimmy.
Dre?
Look, Gus Bradley, what is he known for? He's known for his work in Seattle with the Legion of Boom. He was there from 2009 to 2012. We all remember how good the defense was in 2012 when the Niners, lost in the NFC title game. And then the Seattle went on to freaking just stomp the hell out of the Denver Broncos. So I think when you look at that, that's sort of what they want out of Gus Bradley. Hey, we need a guy that can give us that wide nine, give us that Seattle type defense. That's what we've always wanted here, right? And that's why they brought in Robert Saleh initially when on his first stint. But as a head coach, when you look at his head coaching record, it's terrible. He's 4-12, 3-13, 5-11, 2-12. He had a total record of 14-48. Now, I think he was with the Jacksonville Jaguars the whole time, so not a very great team. But still, he was not able to find success as a head coach. So why do I bring that up? Is because if they go with him and he's their defensive coordinator, more than likely teams are not going to be going after him like, hey, I want that guy as my next head coach. No, he's more of an established coordinator and a failed head coach. I think that if you bring him in here, you have the potential to keep him as your coordinator for a number of years. Raheem Morris, I think he'd be here for at least 2 years. I think Robert Saleh has more pull and more interest than Raheem Morris would have. It would take Raheem Morris a little bit longer because look what he had in Atlanta. Look how bad they were as well. It was not a very good look. So I think that, if they went with Gus Bradley, you're getting a guy that is really familiar with your system, really familiar with the things that you like to do here in San Francisco. He already knows the coaching staff, and he'll likely be here as long as he's successful for a number of years. I mean, looking at his record, obviously the Legion of Boom from 2009 to 12, top 10 defense, they were just phenomenal. With the Chargers from 2017 and 2020, he had a top 3 ranked defense in 2017. In 2021 with the Raiders, he led defense for a playoff bound team, which I don't think they really got anywhere. And then he was a defensive coordinator for 2 years for Indianapolis. So I think this guy is a coordinator. This guy is not going to be a coveted head coach. But then again, I say that now, but if the Niners are successful next season, teams get so desperate. They're like, you know what? Maybe we ought to bring in Gus Bradley for a head coaching interview. But I just think he has the potential to be your coordinator for a longer period of time. And the guy has a ton of experience. So it's not like he's not a Nick Sorensen where he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He has experience. He knows what he's doing. I don't think this is a bad hire. I just think that when you look at his body of work, especially as a head coach, your first thought, is kind of like, it's kind of lackluster, kind of mediocre. But when you look at his work as a coordinator, he's much better as a defensive coordinator.
I think all of these guys are kind of in the same boat. They're probably lifelong coordinators. Morris didn't have success in Atlanta. He didn't have it, 15 years ago in Tampa Bay when he was the head coach unceremoniously.
I don't think Jim Schwartz is going to be like, if they bring in Jim Schwartz and the Niners go on to get to the NFC title game or they get to the Super Bowl or whatever, and the defense is a top defense, I think he becomes a head coach next season because then it'll say, because then they'll say, you know what? He wanted to be the head coach in the Browns. They passed him up. Look how good he is on this defense with San Francisco. Let's give him a shot. I think he has more pull to become a head coach than Gus Bradley does.
I'd agree with that. But then why didn't the Cardinals interview him? Why didn't the Raiders interview him? Why didn't the 10 Jim Schwartz? There was 10 openings for head coaches this offseason.
Because he thought he was going to be the head coach of the Browns. He was like, everyone kept saying, they're going to go with him.
But that doesn't matter, though. Anyone can talk to you. Why wouldn't you at least bring him in? No one else did.
He's still under contract. Well, I guess if you're going to be a head coach, you could move up to do that,
Exactly. Like, no one else talked to him. And I think everyone knows that despite how bad the Browns have been, Jim Schwartz's defense is a standout.
Yeah, but he's
always what keeps... But the Browns are terrible. He might be an ass. Go back and call Jim Harbaugh and say, how was the handshake in Detroit a couple years ago? Like, I'm sure he feels the same way.
Yeah!
But Jim Schwartz had an opportunity, and the NFL continued to say no and no and no and no. I don't think any of these guys are head coach material. Morris might get it because he's simply younger, and he can have blame and say, well, Penix got hurt in Atlanta, and Cousins tore his Achilles, and it was a GM's fault. But, okay, I don't think any of these guys are head coach material. And I think no matter who you hire is going to be here for a long time.
I agree.
And so if that's the case, and I'm San Francisco, who cares about Gus Bradley? He's the fallback third guy. Yeah. You got to talk to Raheem, and you have to at least call about Jim Schwartz. I don't know what the process is. I don't know, what the steps that needed to be taken to get him here in San Francisco. But if you don't put in the call, he's pissed off. He don't want to be there. There's no way you can go through interview process, think you're getting the job, and then be like, you know what, I'm fine being the number 2 guy again. Yeah, when you probably deserve that job. It's embarrassing.
I think you don't trust the ownership. Leon has it best. Leon said it best. What he says, I completely and utterly agree with. You want to pull it up?
Which is Gus is unquestionably better than Sorensen.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that's not.
Well, and plus, Bradley spent a year learning how Saleh runs the system in his way. I wouldn't mind seeing Gus, but he's not preferred. He's number 3 on my list. That's what I'm saying. Like, even if you went with Gus Bradley, to me, he's leagues better than Nick Sorensen. Nick Sorensen, I mean, after week 1 or 2, it was like, this guy's in over his head.
You guys, listen the bar pretty low right there, though.
I know. It was like, I think Richard Sherman could have done a better job than Nick Sorensen. He just would stand there with that stupid hat on and his sunglasses, just like, just not do anything. You're just like,
he was a lame duck.
God.
Yeah. Fred Warner was the defensive coordinator, wasn't he? Wasn't he?
It felt like that. It was.
He felt like he had to clean everything up.
He was cooking crystal meth in his basement. So, I mean.
Oh, man. That's actually Chris Forrester, who was doing coke in Miami, is now the offensive line coach.
Oh, yeah. You want your defensive coordinator or your offensive coordinator to be a little hyped up.
Sorensen was a bad call all the way around, and they brought in, what's his name, Staley, who's like, he'll help oversee the defense. That was a fucking blunder. Why? I don't know why they just didn't make Staley the defensive coordinator at that point. It was just like, what are we doing here?
Surprisingly, wasn't terrible in New Orleans this year. So
no, he wasn't.
Who knows? But I am going to go on a limb and say they don't hire Jim Schwartz. Shocker. I think they're going to hire Raheem Morris. I think Gus Bradley will stay on some way. If they lose Daniel Bullocks, maybe Bradley goes over to the DBs. He coached the red zone this year, was pretty good. Or maybe Gus Bradley leaves to go to Tennessee. Who knows? I don't know what they're doing. out there with the coaching staff minus Robert Saleh. So a lot can change. We hear that Aaron and Mike believe it's going to be Gus Bradley. That's probably the very safe, logical option here.
Not because we want it. It's just
no. But because you think it's going to happen that way.
He's already in the building. You know, they already
Yeah.
know the guy. I just think that's where they're going to go. And to me, second would be Raheem Morris because Kyle already knows him. And it just seems like the choice that we all want them to look into is Jim Schwartz. But look at it this way. I mean, like, nobody knew they interviewed all those guys until Matt Mayoko posted it, and it was like, oh, shit.
Exactly.
They interviewed all three of those guys already? That's awesome. But for all we know, they've already reached out to Schwartz and made contact with him, and who knows? We won't know until one of those guys drops the information that, hey, they have or they will interview or whatnot.
Well, that's part of it, too. Like, they could have called Schwartz, and he could have been like, F off. I don't want to go there. And you're like, okay, well, we tried, and so we couldn't bring him in.
Well,
my hope is that they do hire Joe Woods as the defensive backs coach to replace Bullocks if he is gone, because the DBs have regressed, in my opinion, the last couple
where
seasons.
was he last season? Was he with Cleveland?
Who? Joe Woods?
Woods.
I think he was the Raiders passing game.
Oh, he was the
coordinator.
Raiders. He was the Raiders.
So, like, if you can hire
That's
Joe
so
Woods as your
bad.
DB's coach and you can bring in Jim Schwartz, have two guys that were into Cleveland together.
Yeah.
Kosarek's the defensive line coach still. Like, you can start to see how things work. You'd have two minds that were once already in San Francisco and Joe Woods help teach you that cover one, cover two that Schwartz likes to run on the back end. And then you have Kosarek who can master the wide net on the front end. Like, there's a real chance the Niners could make an insane coaching staff this year, but the way they do things, it'll probably be a lame duck. Hey, Gus Bradley's here, and let's move on.
I mean,
Shanahan likes playing things safe.
I would hope that Gus Bradley is not a lame duck. I think he's still a qualified candidate, but the
Right,
way
that's-
the way the Niners have done things, the way they've done business is that they like to promote from within or have their own little system. They had Robert Saleh. Saleh left. D'Amico was promoted, but he was already there, so it was like, oh, perfect. And then D'Amico leaves, and what happened? He brought in Steve Wilkes, and immediately it was like Kyle was like, I don't know you. What are you doing? And then it was like, okay, let's go with Nick Sorensen. Well, can we get Bill Belichick? Well, he said no. Okay, let's go with Sorensen because I know him. Yeah, and then after a while, it was like, I hate this guy.
Don't forget, that offseason was firing Steve Wilkes, calling Belichick, and then calling the Chiefs, who just beat you in the Super Bowl, and saying, hey, can we have Steve Spagnuolo? And they were like, what the hell?
They tried, right? They tried.
Firing, look, was Wilkes the best defensive coordinator? No, but I think he was capable. But all they knew was that they were going to fire Steve Wilkes. Well, we're going to fire him, just like how the Niners were like, we're going to fire Jim Harbaugh. Well, how are you going to replace him? Oh, I don't know. We thought about that yet, but we just knew we were going to fire him. And then it was like, where do we go now? And then somehow they ended up on Sorensen, which was like, what in the world?
The only hope is that, they haven't announced it yet, right? So you're kind of holding out hope that, like, okay, maybe they're doing their due diligence and they're trying to figure this out. Just like you said, Dre, like, we didn't even know they interviewed these guys in the first place.
It was like, whoa.
So, like, who knows what's going on behind the scenes, and because they haven't made the announcement yet, it's like, cross your fingers, please, please, please. They're just waiting to see how things pan out, and we just gotta hold our breath and just pray, I guess.
Well,
the one thing the Niners. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. No,
I would say the one thing the Niners do very well is they do their due diligence.
They are due diligence.
If they were the Giants,
that doesn't make sense.
They would kick the tires on the.
They're going to be in on.
Yeah,
John Lynch likes to do that.
Everyone.
When we go into free agency and all of us fans lose our mind because we don't land somebody. Well, everything's always on the table, and we do our due diligence. It's like nobody cares.
No,
Just get us the guys that we want or the coach.
Second one of these media reporters put out, the 49ers could be interested. You already know they're out, right? I think they use the Niners as leverage for like their agents or like their contracts, whatever.
Yep.
And it's every single time they say, Niners could be interested, you might as well just say never mind, because it never pans out.
It's not gonna happen.
Think about it that way. Like, go back a couple years ago. Obviously, it didn't pan out for them, but like, no one knew San Francisco was talking to Javon Hargrave. Not a single person.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, bang! It was like, okay, clearly no one knows what's actually happening in that room besides the guys that are in there. But
there was Javon Hargrave, but like years ago there was the Julian Edelman. Remember, they were like, he's like, I'm gonna go check out San Francisco. He went and visited the facility, and then immediately got signed with the Patriots. And he even
Peyton
said,
Manning, same way,
yeah. I mean, but Edelman even said, like, I just use that as a ploy to get more money. I mean, we've seen a lot of players use San Francisco as like a platform to say, hey, I'm going to sign over here.
Aaron
Judge, Bryce Harper.
Yeah. Shohei Ohtani.
Zach Greinke. Remember that? Oh, God. It just keeps, you're the Giants. It just keeps going. It's like a rabbit hole. But for the Niners, it happens too. So,
Can I defend Steve Wilkes for 1 second? I know it's kind of unnecessary, but that's the best year this DB room ever had. Jair Brown was great in his first season.
Yeah, he was.
Deshaun Gibson was awesome. Lenore, Mooney Ward, they were all fantastic that year. And I know it's never going to happen, but in let's say they hire Jim Schwartz or they bring in Raheem Morris or somebody else, it would never happen. But knowing you got the best out of those guys with Steve Wilkes, and if Daniel Bullocks is gone, why couldn't Steve Wilkes come back and be your defensive backs coach again?
Nope.
It's never going to happen because he was fired, obviously. And clearly Kyle and him don't get along, but it's he's not a good DC. We know that. The Jets know that now. Niners know that. But as a defensive backs coach, not that bad.
Yeah.
But never
Wilkes
mind.
was not good against the
He did
run.
your Drewski pose that.
Not that bad.
Wilkes was just very confrontational and very defensive.
Yes.
Well, he's very stubborn. He's set on his ways.
He's old school.
So
He's old
he's
school.
just like what, like the comment that was made by Diamador Lenore when he was like, I went to him before the Super Bowl and said, hey, I think I'd be more useful in the slot. I just got a feeling that's where they're going to utilize Kelsey and some of their targets. Okay, well, we already got a plan in place, but I appreciate it. And Sherman was like, you should have went to Kyle.
That plan worked until Dre Greenlaw tore his Achilles.
I know.
True.
That's not
Very
on
true.
Steve Wilkes, but that last drive clearly was.
And then what's his face? Who took over for Greenlaw? What was his name? The backup linebacker.
Oren Burks.
Oren Burks. And he went on to win a Super Bowl the following, or a couple years, a year later with the Eagles.
Yeah. Dude, anyway, just crazy.
Anyways,
we had a good question here in the comments, I think may kind of move us on and transition us into our next conversation, because D Meeks, who earlier said he hasn't heard the podcast before, it's his first time.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, D Meeks. Welcome into the show.
Welcome.
But he has a question for us all. Talking about the DC search, we're getting into free agency and draft conversation soon on the show too. But he asks, question for us all: how would this team look if Eddie D was still the owner? And I think it feeds us into what Eddie D said a couple nights ago. It was the premiere of the Niners AMC documentary discussing the 80s and kind of 90s 5 Super Bowl victories they had, the building of that dynasty, and how awesome it was. But Eddie D said this: in the midst of a 31-year Super Bowl drought, what would you do, Eddie D, if you were the owner? This is what he said.
How frustrating would it be if you're the owner and you go 31 years without a championship?
I wouldn't.
I know that to many Niner fans who I did not grow up with Eddie D as the owner. I've been a Jed York guy almost my entire life, so I can't discuss life pre-Jed York. But hearing that, those words out of somebody that held the power as an owner say, I wouldn't have gone 31 years without a Super Bowl. Obviously, salary cap comes into play here. He didn't have to deal with that. Now we do in this day and age. But Aaron, you were alive for that. Dre, you were alive for that. I'm sure, Mike, you were alive for that. I wasn't. I'll let you guys handle this one. Aaron, if Eddie D was the owner and San Francisco lost 3 Super Bowls, how would you feel things would change, or what could be different at this point in time?
He, in the late 80s, and they already had 2 Super Bowls with Walsh. The year they lost in 87, they were the best team in the NFC. And then they hosted Minnesota at home playoff game, and they got drubbed. He was going to fire Bill Walsh on the spot after that game. And Carmen Policy talked him out of it. That's the kind of owner he was. Winning was everything to this guy. And then you come into the 90s, they lost to Dallas twice. They had lost to the Giants a couple of years prior. So going into that 94 season, he did what he had to do. Did they buy a defense and bring in a bunch of, make like a kind of like a all-star team like LeBron kind of started in the NBA? Sure. But if the goal was winning a championship, that's what they did. They beat the Cowboys. They stopped the three-peat. They got their 5th title. And up until I would say the last couple of years of the 90s, they were in it. They went to a couple more conference championship games. They went to war with Green Bay. To me, the modern day Eddie DeBartolo is how the Rams do business, how they close the deal on Matt Stafford, how they say, screw it with the picks. We're going to go make this move. And a lot of people are like, oh, but the future and this and that. And they're like, they don't care. Their thing is winning the championship, and we'll deal with what happens down the road. And they've done that. And now they're, they lost the conference championship game, of course, but like, they're like the modern day version of Eddie.
Yeah.
I have no doubt in my mind if Eddie was still the owner. I mean, I don't know if he would have. He probably would have fired Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. I mean, if you think about it,
he would have fired John Lynch. I can say that.
Yeah.
But that was my experience with it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, guys.
He would have fired John Lynch. He probably would have hung on to Kyle Shanahan because he would have saw how innovative and how brilliant he is. As a coach, he would have been like, "Well, I got to keep that guy around." But I think look, kind of what Bashar was saying. They created the salary cap to weaken teams like the 49ers to kind of put an end to that, to create a more even playing field in the NFL. You had the Niners, you had the Cowboys, you had all these teams that were starting to become just these powerhouses, and everybody else sucked. And so then when they started seeing teams win Super Bowls that had sucked for years, like Tampa Bay and all that, they were like, hey, it's working. This is great. And now we're accustomed to it. We're accustomed to seeing, look at this year. The playoffs were like, who's in the playoffs? Like all these random ass teams.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly what they want. They want parity. They want every season it could be anything could happen. But I think definitely this would be a team where if he was still running the team, because when you go over the salary cap, you get, what is it? There's like a penalty, yeah?
Yeah.
Luxury tax?
Draft picks, luxury tax. Yeah. Like, you just can't go over it. It's a hard cap. You can't go over it.
But like in the NBA, you pay a luxury tax. And if you're the Lakers, you're like, well, I don't care. I'll just pay it. Yeah. So if that were the case, he'd be like, I don't care. I'll just pay it. I don't give a crap about that. But I think where he would differentiate from some of their owners is that he would have the top, what do you call it? Executives, coaching staff. That's what he would invest his money in is that. And of course players as well. But the things that you don't get, salary capped on, your coaching staff and the executives who run the team.
Scouts.
Yeah. He'd have the top of the line for all of that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, if you guys rewatch that video, you see the conviction in his face when he says, I wouldn't. And then his face is like stone cold. Like there's no like, no, oh yeah, I wouldn't. No, he was like, I wouldn't. Because his focus would be 100% on bringing Lombardi's back to the team. It wouldn't be sidetracked with these soccer teams and these other investments and selling part of the team to get more money so he can buy, other sports. His only goal in life would be how many Lombardis can I bring? And when they lose, his heart would be broken into a million pieces, even more than the most hardcore fan, right? So this is a man who actually deeply, deeply cared about the team. He didn't see it as a monetary gain. He didn't see it as like, oh, how much more money can I make off this team? No, it was all about winning. Win, 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 win. And he's so competitive. He wanted to make sure, Jerry Jones didn't pass him or, these other teams. He's like, no, I want to be the best organization, the best coach. I want to have the best facilities. I want to have the best of everything. Make it a family, like he's always said. So I think it would be a lot different, honestly, than what Jed has got to it right now.
I mean, if he hadn't gotten involved with the freaking riverboat ordeal, he'd probably still be the owner. Yep. But no, he got himself involved in some stupid shit, and then he had to fucking walk away from the team because he was just toxic and he was going to court, and it was just so stupid.
And he sold the team to his sister and her husband, who could care less about football. And it took all the way till Harbaugh came here to pretty much challenge them into spending money, into changing their ways. And then Jed York came into the forefront. He screwed up. He messed up with Harbaugh. I think the thing with him too is I don't know if you guys have ever seen the video. It was with Steinbrenner. What was the dad's name? Not Hank Steinbrenner. No, the father, like, who owned the Yankees for years.
Steinbrenner.
We'll just call him Steinbrenner.
It was George
Steinbrenner.
So he was in an interview once, and they asked him if he was a sore loser, and he's like, "Absolutely, I am." And then he said the famous quote, "Show me a good loser, and I'll show you a loser." Like, he and Eddie just were cut from the exact same cloth. Like, failure was not an option, and if they did fail, something was always done. What it was done, we don't know, but there was always action taken after a loss or a consecutive amount of years. Because remember, the Niners won against the Dolphins, and then they lost 3 straight years. They didn't win a Super Bowl. I mean, think about that. They won 2 already. They didn't win it for 3 years, and he was ready to fire Walsh. Like, are you kidding me? That's how important it was to him. Now it's like country club. Everybody gets along. Everybody goes to Cabo. That's where the difference is. One thing me and my brother were talking about too is I hate how all these players have podcasts with their friends that are on other teams. It drives me insane. You imagine Michael Irvin and Jerry Rice having a podcast together? No. So yeah, it's us being old heads, especially me. Like, I'm the ultimate old head where I talk about the past incessantly, but there's a reason for it because it's not the same anymore. But yeah.
Do you guys think this was an indirect shot at current ownership?
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Not Eddie D, calling out Jed of like, he's a bad owner. But it does seem like with Jed, there is kind of a, let me take a step back. I'll be an owner from behind the scenes. I don't want to be seen as much. You don't really hear from Jed very often. I think the rarity we hear from Jed is like if the team is going to the Super Bowl or if they make a big hire or fire. And even then it's like, John and Kyle, get out there. You're the voice of the organization. And I'm sure a lot of that is because of what happened with Jim Harbaugh. I got a lot of heat for that, and I'm sure it was the wrong decision. You can all agree there of going through Tom Sula and going through Chip Kelly, which led to Kyle Shanahan, mind you, but still, you don't want to go through 2 terrible years to get you to better ones if you don't have to. But I do think that in a roundabout way, this was Eddie kind of putting himself in the shoes of, if I was still here, we would at least have had one since 1995.
True.
And I guess the question I have for you guys is, do you think Jed, knowing Eddie for his entire life, being close to him, obviously there's relations and families and friends, all that stuff. Do you think that this is enough to maybe make Jed a little more invigorated to spend, maybe be more aggressive in the offseason? Or do you think it's just Jed being like, that's Eddie's words, I'm the owner now, and he can kind of go piss off? Mike, what do you think?
I don't think Jed gives a shit.
Yeah,
he's looking at how much more of a percentage he could sell to get more money for another soccer team or whatever. I really don't think Jed cares. Jed has heard all the criticism since we've lost all these Super Bowls. And he does open his mouth every now and then, which is very random. Like last year in the draft, remember he kept tweeting about all this, another defensive player, but like,
I'm hinting towards who they're gonna pick.
Yeah, like, dude, just stop it, bro. Just stop. Be behind the scenes, write the checks, and shut up. But I honestly really don't think he cares anywhere near as much as Eddie was when he was an owner.
Does that upset you guys enough? Like, I know a lot of people, like you were saying, Jed, be quiet, shut up, be a billionaire behind the scenes, pay for the players, and I don't want to see you kind of stuff. Maybe that's too harsh, but do you want an owner that's in the forefront of things and that truly cares and, maybe is taking some of the limelight? Like, do you want a Jerry Jones style of guy who's like, F it, I'll trade draft picks, I'll spend money. I may be too much of a scene. I'm probably somewhat of a distraction.
If he cared, like, how Eddie did and how Eddie was kind of like in the limelight a little bit, like, yeah, because he actually really loved the team and he cared with a passion. I wouldn't mind that, but we all know where Jed stands with the team, right? He sees it as his piggy bank. And so, like, I don't really want to see him that much because I don't think he has that passion like Eddie does.
Okay.
Bashar, I would definitely fight him in the octagon.
Let's take bets. Who wins? Who wins? Oh, oops. Who wins?
Of course
Aaron
I
or
would,
Jed?
dude. I'm like triple his size. But no,
Jed's a pretty big guy, man. I don't know.
the one thing that Steve Young always talked about that sometimes fed success was creative tension. Not necessarily an owner who mingles, but an owner who gets pissed and an owner who gives that coach or that owner maybe a question if their job is safe instead of being comfortable. Creative tension sometimes leads to incredible things. Sometimes it destroys things, like with Harbaugh. But the kumbaya, the approach that we've kind of had ever since he screwed up with Harbaugh, he's like afraid to step on anybody's toes. That's wrong too. And I know a lot of people are like, well, what, like if you were the owner, what could you do better? You know what I mean? I don't know. That's not my job. That's his job. I like when there's creative tension. I miss the days of like, there's a rumor coming out of such and such that so-and-so might have me his last year if the Niners can at least get to the conference champ. Like somebody releases it. There's a mole in the team, whatever. Again, no, you don't have to draft criminals or people with mental problems like Dante Whitner says, but creative tension never hurts anything. I just think everything's too copacetic. It's too clean. I don't know, man. I miss the old days.
Copacetic. Wow.
Copacetic.
Sorry.
Okay.
Are you dictionary? Jeez. Dre, I'll ask you this. Do you desire for Jed to maybe turn the heat up on not Kyle's job, but on John Lynch's job? A lot of missed draft picks, a lot of bad signings. Obviously, the GM spot, the front office, very collaborative, not all on John, but would you want Jed to say, you know what, John's not been great the past 3 or 4 years or so. He had 3 drafts that were just god awful back to back to back, and it cost us a Super Bowl, if not 2 of them. Who knows? Would you want maybe there'd be some heat on John Lynch's job?
I mean, I would like for Jed to say something like that. I think that'd be kind of cool. But it just seems like whenever Jed gets involved, he's kind of looked at as like, dude, like, can I help you? Like, what do you want? Like, he's just kind of an annoying guy. Like, hey, well, we're not winning. Okay, cool. Out of here. Look at Jim Harbaugh. He was like, this is a players only meeting. You need to get the hell out of here. So, I mean, yeah, should he say it out loud? He probably should, just so that he lets everybody know, like, hey, I'm paying attention, damn it. But will he do it? Probably not.
Okay. I kind of do wish that Jed, not to Kyle, because I think Kyle's great and he'd get hired in a second and he'd get $1 billion wherever he goes, whatever it be. But I do think that John's job should not be as safe. I don't think John and Kyle are tied at the hip. I don't think their jobs and their tenures in San Francisco coincide. You can fire John Lynch today and you can retain Kyle Shanahan and you could bring in a new GM. Kyle can pick the GM himself if he wants to. I would like to see Jed not say this is the offseason, you got to get something done. That's pretty unfair. But I think you got 2 years to rebuild this team, to make it a legitimate Super Bowl contender. If that doesn't happen, it obviously context matters. Guys get hurt, that changes things, whatnot. But like, you got to retool this thing. I'm tired of being a 12-win team, go in the playoffs and lose in the second round. It doesn't happen often, but it happened this year. Okay, you retooled. Now let's go in. I'll give you the funds. I'll give you everything you need. But if you can't get it done, if you misspend on Yetur Gross-Matos for $19 million, like, you can't do that. I need to see the production. I need to see, like, Kyle Shanahan and the players in the field, you doing your job right. I think last year's draft class was pretty good. Can you do it again for a second straight offseason? I do want to see maybe there be some heat on John Lynch this year and maybe next year too. That to me can push somebody, like Aaron said. Tension isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes it can be, but it depends on how you react to that. Either you're going to fight or you're going to flight. And I think John's a fighter. I want to see John kind of get out of the rebuilding stage. Okay, 2017, 2018, bang, 2019 comes. It's an amazing draft because you're digging yourself out of a hole. The Niners aren't in that hole anymore. You're striving for a Super Bowl, sure, but you kind of just there. You know you're guaranteed 10 wins a year, basically. You have Kyle, you have Brock, you have Bosa and Fred. That's guaranteed 10 wins a year almost. I want to see guys put behind the 8 ball. What do you got? Give me something. Give me something to fight for and kind of, persevere for, if you will. I'm sure Aaron agrees with me too, right?
Well, but look at it. I mean, you manufacture something, make drama happen. People I'm not saying make drama for the sake of problems. Friggin' Bill Walsh him and Paul Hackett used to make up conflict between each other during practice where Walsh would say, I put the effing plays in, Paul, and they're screaming back and forth at each other. And what that was doing, the players didn't know is, hey, that's my coach my position coach that Coach Walsh is talking to. I got to have his back. I got to up my play. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. Just keeping things always the same after years and years of failure. And I know, and here's the thing that really gets to me. And I'm not trying to say anything about, I am, but I don't mean it in a combative way. We have come to the generation of 49er fans where getting there and having a good season is good enough. I hate that. I freaking hate that, man. That pisses me off. But that's just the way that it's been because we've had these gaps where we've been really good and then really bad and then really good again and then kind of bad. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just miss the old days. And I know that's, again, old head, man, complaining about the past or talking about the past. But I don't know. I miss that. I miss that, man, we didn't win this year. Dallas, we're going to go and we're going to sign the best free agent out there and we're going to F them over and we're going to get to the Super Bowl this year. It's just not like that anymore. Everybody's just well, we did the best we could. And we'll come back next year after going to Cabo and looking fried during the press conference when we start getting into the off-season stuff. It's can we change it up a little bit? Instead of eating, pork chops and potatoes for dinner, I don't know, have filet mignon and some garlic potatoes. I don't know. Do something different.
That, I think, is a great transition, Aaron, to our next conversation of let's do something different. And there was a rumor out there, a report maybe is what they'll call it. I won't call it that. But the rumor is that the San Francisco 49ers, someone in that room is discussing the idea, tossing out the thought of, we really don't see a future in Ricky Pearsall and Renardo Green, whether it's first-round draft pick 2 years ago or this team's second-round draft pick 2 years ago. There's at least some rumblings, who knows how valid, I don't think they're that valid, but that's just my opinion, that somebody in that room is displeased with Pearsall and Renardo Green. I know Pearsall was a big point of contention for you during this past year, Aaron. Green was up and down in his sophomore season, but was really good in his first year. Mike, you mentioned, or Aaron mentioned, changing things up. Mike, when you hear that and you hear rumblings of, well, maybe Pearsall and Green can be dangled out there for something or some more draft picks, and would you do that? Or are you saying, wait a minute here, going into year 3, that's when guys are boom or bust, they can really kind of ramp things up? Or are you saying enough's enough, let's move on?
Yeah, it's not good because it's another notch on John Lynch's belt, right, of missing in the draft. We're talking about the first round pick and the second round pick of the same draft, and they're talking about trading both of them. Obviously Ricky has a skill set that is very, he's a good football player. I've been down on him since we drafted him, but he does have really good hands. But I think the difference, what makes him stand out, is that he might not fit the culture of the 49ers, where you have all these players playing through injury, doing whatever it takes to get on the field. We had Fred Warner last year, played through a broken foot the entire season. Trent Williams, he pulls his hamstring, he comes back right away. Juwan Jennings is in a full body cast, and he's out there trying to run routes.
Pretty much.
And Ricky, we gave him the full amount of time to heal from that PCL, right? And I think he even took an extra week or 2 on top of that. And he gets hurt immediately right away, and he doesn't try to come back. He's it seems like the team's making excuses for him. And I do believe it's a bad look when you see other players in the locker room are like, bro, we're all fighting through it. George Kittle's half alive. He's out there on one leg when he hurt his ankle, and you can't even try to come back. So I think it's more of like, yeah, I would like to see him healthy and play a full season, and hopefully he can give us some type of production. But I just don't know if he's a culture fit in what the 49ers stand for and like their toughness. You know what I mean? So it just sucks. It just seems to me like they whiffed on that draft again.
Dre, when you hear that, when you hear the thought of moving off of Pearsall, moving off Bernardo Green, I kind of scoff. I'm like, really? This team is going to open to the idea of trading away your first and second round draft pick from just 2 years ago?
No.
That seems rather foolish, but if you don't believe in them, this doesn't happen, rare. Like, people do this all the time. If you don't believe in those guys, you don't see futures in those guys, would you be open to the thought of trading those two players away?
I mean, I guess to me, like, that narrative or that rumor isn't put out there. And if it was legitimate, I think it's more of San Francisco doing that because, with the offseason approaching, with the draft later on, they want to get these rumors out there to see if they can, gain any interest from any of their teams. For these players, they're young, they have potential, they're not terrible. And look, I mean, if they couldn't get rid of Jake Moody until he finally, almost lost them a game, they're not going to get rid of Ricky Pearsall. They're not going to get rid of Bernardo Green. But if they put this out there now and then come draft time, come off season, someone says, hey, you know what? I'd love to trade for Mac Jones. How about Mac Jones and Bernardo Green? I'll give you 2 picks and this player, is it something, So I think you can garner some interest via trade because, I mean, they're not going to really sign anybody. I know everyone's like, Linderbaum. They're not going to sign him. They're not. They're not. That's going to be Jake Brendel again. No. And the only way that they're going to acquire a player of any magnitude is through a trade. I mean, if they move Mac Jones to like the Vikings, then they can get Jordan Addison. You know what I mean? Something like that. They're not going to get Justin Jefferson, but they would get Jefferson if they said, hey, we'll give you Mac Jones and Nick Bosa. You know what I mean? Oh, okay, yeah. But
pretty much.
I think they can make a move with Mac Jones to get a receiver. But I don't think that Green or Pearsall will be going anywhere this offseason.
Aaron, you were one of the people that didn't hate Ricky. That's a harsh word to use, but you were pretty down on him for a lot of the year because of the injury stuff. And obviously it seems like the initial PCL injury, he never really recovered from it, which sucks. We haven't got to see a true, fully kind of fleshed out Ricky Pearsall in the NFL just yet. But you've been down on him for almost a full year. Is your clock done ticking on him? Or are you saying, look, we're going to lose Brandon Ayuk. We lost Deebo Samuel 2 years ago, whatever it is now. Might lose Juwan Jennings. We can't afford to walk into an offseason with Demarcus Robinson as the number 1 wide receiver, Jordan Watkins, who hasn't played a single snap basically in the NFL yet because Kyle didn't trust him, and then Jacob Cowan and Junior Burgeon behind the scenes. Like, Sky Moore's a free agent, Bourne's a free agent. Is that going to make you maybe reluctant to trade Pearsall away? Or are you saying, screw it, clean the whole thing out and get young, fresh talent in here, get faster, stronger, quicker, and more importantly, healthier this offseason?
I would only trade Pearsall if it was for proven talent. I don't want another question mark and a player that Kyle's not going to play. I honestly think, I was down on him kind of for the same reasons that Mike was. It was just like other players were fighting through stuff. I'm not saying that he didn't initially hurt his PCL and that he really jacked his knee up. But you were getting towards the end of the season, and a lot of guys, they always say you're either hurt, you're injured. If you're hurt, you play. If you're injured, you don't. A lot of guys were hurt, banged up. It's a long season. They got 1 bye week. They've played multiple short weeks. Everybody else was putting it on the line, and he didn't. And it's a bad look. Maybe internally they don't like it. Maybe internally they don't think he's a culture fit. But they can't go. You're right. They can't go into an offseason where they could lose Juwan Jennings. They're going to lose Brandon Ayuk. And you have a bunch of unproven guys, 2 guys on the roster that Kyle has essentially buried the last 2 seasons because he has this like weird fetish of like, unless I think they're ready, they ain't touching the field trash. And it's like, you don't even have enough talent this year. You didn't have enough talent to feel the competitive offense at some points because of how many injuries, and yet he still pulled that. So for the reason you said, I think he's going to stay another year. Who knows? he could be healthy all next year and we could finally get to see the guy that he was destined to be. Do I think that happens? Probably not. Could he stay healthy next year? Possibly, but I don't know, man. There's been a lot of stuff talked about, whether it's fake news from people who are trying to get clicks or the front office itself or Kyle. Until something actually happens, it's what it is, you know?
Dre, you have to go at 1 o'clock. You got about 2 minutes. You have final words. Me, Aaron, and Mike are going to stay on and still talk with the Niner fans out there, but you got to go.
Yeah, I gotta go.
Got any final words for us?
Go Niners. Let's hope they make a decision by the end of the week. I hope the Warriors get Giannis Antetokounmpo, and I hope that the Giants get Valdez. Framber. It's such a weird name. I hope they get him, and I'll see you guys next week.
See you, boss.
All right, Dre.
Later, Dre.
See you guys later.
See you guys. With Dre gone, now it is the trio you actually came to watch and see. Mike's taking over of the Cover 3 podcast, but let's continue the Pearsall Green trade stuff just for 1 second, because go back to that kind of post end of season press conference, and we heard Shanahan be very positive and praising Pearsall of when he's healthy, when he's out there, he was awesome, but he wasn't himself for 4 of the 8 games he actually played in. And I think the stat is roughly he's played in like 15 games, 16 games, and he's missed like 26, 27. That ain't going to cut it for obvious reasons. And look, guys get hurt. It stinks, and it has cost a lot of great players their futures in Niner history. You can go to big ones like Navarro Bowman. You can go to smaller ones along the lines of Drake Jackson, who just never could get healthy. You never knew what he could be, and now is out there with the Washington Commanders. But when you hear Shanahan say in that press conference, what's the one thing Pearsall needs to get better at? It wasn't being better as a player. It was getting back sooner.
Faster.
That to me is a telltale sign of, you know what? Pearsall, when he's healthy, he's awesome. We saw it early in the season. He was awesome. It was JSN, Puka, and Pearsall as the receiving yard leaders. But when he got hurt, for whatever reason, we have no idea. We're not in that room. The doctors aren't going to tell us, and the doctors here, quite frankly, suck with this training staff. He could never get healthy again. And he tried to come back, and he got hurt immediately. Then he missed some time, tried to come back, and he got hurt immediately. That to me was a telltale sign of like, we love Ricky, but if he ain't healthy in 2026, something's got to change. What do you think of that, Mike?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head, right? Like he said, he needs to work on getting back out on the field faster. And to me, that makes it seem like he's not going back out there unless he feels he's 100%. So I feel like they're kind of pissed. And I think they put that rumor out there to see, maybe put pressure on Pearsall or what, but I have a feeling they didn't like it because he didn't go back out on the field, even when he was 90%, maybe 80%. And they're like, bro, everyone else is out here, like Aaron said, putting it out on the line, right? And you're like, oh, no, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. So I don't know. I think they're pretty pissed off, and hopefully that puts a fire under his ass, and he can keep posting these pictures of on Instagram of him riding the training bike.
What's up with that?
And yeah, just don't tie your shoes, bro, because we don't need you to trip and pull something else.
Aaron, what do you think about that?
How are you unavailable all year, but you're good for a photo op and you look completely 100% back? I don't know.
Well, it is a training treadmill. He's working out. It's not like he's out there running routes. And it is 2 weeks removed from the game. Like, he probably is healthier now than he was 2 weeks ago.
The thing that got me during the season, and I know people are like, oh, you bashed him. Okay, I did. The one that always got to me, and I know it got to Mike, was, if the game was tomorrow, he would have played. What? And then the next week, he's not available. So what happened?
Was that Shanahan putting pressure on him to like try to get him to come out? Like
were they committing psychological warfare with this guy and he just wasn't biting on it? Like,
yeah, I think so, dude.
He's mentally strong, Aaron. He's not going to bite on that.
I'm not breaking.
He's the Jedi mind trick doesn't work on Ricky Pearsall. What is he, Watto? What is happening?
Hey, man. That's
Sorry.
awesome. But I don't know. Like, I didn't mind the photo op, the picture, whatever. It's Instagram. Players are going to do it. Debo Samuel would always do it. Guys do it all the time now. But I do think there is some validity to the point of maybe not the rumor itself of them wanting to trade him, but maybe to Mike's point of like, you know what? Maybe what we want Jed to do to John Lynch, Kyle and John are doing to Ricky Pearsall. Of like, your first round draft pick, we have to decide on your 5th-year option next offseason. If you don't come and figure things out in 1 year, look like the all-star, we hope you can be the Pro Bowler we hope you can be, then you're not getting your 5th-year option picked up. And you may not be back here in 2 years' time. You could be the next failed first-round draft pick, which the way things are going, he'll go elsewhere, get healthy, and play well, which I hope isn't the case. But
yeah, he's going to go to the Rams and just him and Puka just lighten us up.
It'll be going to the Vikings once they have Mac Jones in place for 3 years, and it's Jefferson and Ricky Pearsall just dicing up defenses. But I don't believe the rumor. Do you guys think there is some truth, or at least do you think the Niners will trade Pearsall and Green this offseason? Aaron, what do you think about that?
I mean, Lori's pretty much. I mean, I kind of agree with her that Grant puts out stuff and Larry. I trust Larry more than I trust Grant.
Yes,
we all know Grant is he's a master at content and in making people bite on stuff like that. He's good at it.
He's good at what he does. Yep.
He good is what he does. He's like a what do you call it? He's like TMZ 49er style. Like he puts out stuff and people bite, whether you agree with him or not. He gets the clicks, he gets the engagement. Larry, I totally respect a lot more because he's actually worked as a scout. He's has a giant resume. But I just can't see how you could give up on both of those guys so quickly. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Renardo Green is an interesting case, though, because that sideline thing that he was going on with Kyle, that looked heated, and it looked like Renardo Green could give a shit about what he was saying. And that
like
really,
really
bothered me. Because in my eyes, if I was your coach and you did that, I would have punched you in the mouth, but then I wouldn't have been a coach anymore. Like, you would have respected and listened to what I had to say. I can't stand young guys that are disrespectful. It drives me up the wall. But
do you think Kyle freestyle rapped like Singletary did against Vernon Davis back in the day in the clubhouse afterwards?
As long as he didn't drop his drawers and show his ass, that's all that matters.
Man.
Yeah. I mean, I really don't think that they're gonna get rid of Pearsall. I think they know this is his 5th-year option coming up, and the dude has to ball out, or they're not gonna pick it up. So I think Ricky knows he has to ball out, and they'll probably get the best season that we've had out of Ricky this upcoming one, just because of that pressure of the contract, right? Usually most guys always play very well leading up to this.
Yeah.
And hopefully, I'm crossing my fingers, Ricky can show up and produce, because you know what? They need him. They don't have anybody else. So
yeah,
it's a necessity at this point. Like Renardo Green, like Aaron was saying, I don't know, because Kyle did look pretty pissed. And like you said, he looked like he couldn't care. He was like kind of rolling his eyes a little bit, and he got benched for a couple plays and then came back in. But it also depends on who the new coordinator is that's coming in. If they want to keep him, they'll keep him. If not, they'll tell him, hey, dude, I got no use for this guy. We can get rid of him. So we'll see.
And I know Schwartz runs a lot of man stuff, and Renardo Green is a man corner. He doesn't play well in zone.
Yeah.
He's a man, right? He's not really that good of a zone corner. Is it opposite?
It's the opposite.
So
yeah.
he's a zone
he's
corner.
Better in zone. Yeah.
Oh.
I thought he played man too.
That's what I heard too.
Oh, I think he does. I just think that he played better zone at FSU out of college. That's why they picked him in round 2. But maybe it's changed the last couple of years or so. But I do think he is one that could get traded, actually, more than Pearsall, I think. Mm-hmm. You can find cornerbacks all over the place, I think. I really also wouldn't be shocked if, I'm not going to put this out there, I guess, but if I'm the Niners, bang for your buck, Lenore was not that good this year. And he's out there calling dudes out on the sideline, blaming other guys, which
saying if we were healthy, we would have rolled Seattle. It's like, wait, what?
No, you wouldn't have. No, and there's a difference in being really confident, but I don't know, that contract isn't terrible, but it certainly isn't great right now. And if you bring in Jim Schwartz, I do wonder if he'd want a bigger body cornerback to play in the defense.
Yeah, they
Who
got some
knows?
small corners out there.
I mean, to Lenore's defense, I'm going to come to Lenore's defense here. The secondary was very young and raw.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah, a lot of guys are making mistakes. He has to probably play a lot of cleanup. Some of the plays probably look like it's on him and it's not, doing their duties or whatever. And me and Aaron have talked about this a lot. When there's no pass rush, I don't care if you're Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
He can't cover for 10 seconds. It is what it is, right? And maybe Saleh has them playing the soft zone crap where, it's the bend and break defense that that was happening over the last couple of weeks. And just because out of necessity, right? They had horrible linebacker play, horrible D-line play. And the only thing that kind of was the bright spot in the whole defense was the corners, honestly, to me. I think they did what they could with what they had and what kind of defense Saleh was calling. So, yeah, Lenore didn't have his best season, obviously, but you got to look what was around him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think Bernardo Green is an awful corner. I think he's a pretty solid corner.
Yeah.
Like you said, do I wish the Niners drafted bigger corners physicality-wise? Yes. It's weird how the league goes through this thing where like smaller corners are popular. Now big corners are back being popular because like that Richard Sherman was, I wouldn't say he was necessarily big, but he was tall, right?
Yeah. Tall and lanky. Yeah.
Both. You get a freaking pass rush and you can get a free safety that knows what he's doing back there. All of a sudden, this secondary looks a ton better.
That's one of the things that
was one of their biggest
awesome.
Positive things coming out of this year. And I was like, I don't know about this guy. And now he's already training. His footwork looks immaculate in those training videos. I was just like, wow. I don't know. Go ahead.
That is one of the things when you talk about the free agency plan is like people, while I just criticize Lenore, I think it's justified. I do think Mike is right though, of like the cornerback room arguably is probably the best on the defense this past year. Now, injuries certainly played a part in that, but like you talk about how do you fix a cornerback room? How do you fix a secondary? Yeah, you can get better cornerbacks in there, better coverage players for sure, but you got to fix the pass rush first. You go back to 2019, 2021. There wasn't a great secondary. Yeah, you had Sherman, but then it was K'Wan Williams off of waivers a year ago off from the Bengals. It was a UDFA and Emmanuel Mosley. It was an unproven, converted to safety Jimmy Ward, who was a failed first-round draft pick at the time, and Jaquiski Tart. And they were awesome all year because they had an amazing pass rush. You can go each year San Francisco has been really good. Maybe outside 2023, like the pass rush when intact changes everything for defense. And it makes everyone's life easier. It makes the linebackers' life easier. It makes the quarterback's life harder. And I think, really, the Niners truly on defense, in my opinion, they can fix a defensive line, only really have one hole in that secondary. And it's that free safety kind of roaming coverage player at the top. There's a reason why the defense was so great on the back end when they had Jimmy Ward back there, because he was a cornerback that could cover, converted to safety. And he can make up for the misses of a young secondary around him, not including Richard Sherman. And they need an amazing pass rush. You fix the pass rush, get an actual safety back there. Mustafa's good enough. He's fine. Come down, he can play in the box, that traditional kind of linebacker hybrid box safety with good cornerbacks around him. Like that to me is the mixture of what they have to do. But that transitions us into the Niners' impending free agents. And we won't do all of them. There's like 20 plus, but we'll get into the re-signs and let walks for the impending Niners free agents. Mike, we'll start with you and start at the very top. The big name, Juwan Jennings. This team is deprived of wide receiver talent. There's rumors he wants $20 million a year. Do you bring back Juwan Jennings in 2026, or do you say, sayonara, here's your walk-in papers, thank you for your time, and good luck in the future?
The big name. I thought you were going to say Eddie Pinheiro, man. That's the number one on my list. But
might be.
Yeah. So Juwan, look, I love Juwan. I'm a big fan of what he brings, the style of his play, his work ethic, his willingness to fight through injury, his blocking, all of that. But I do think 20 million is too much. This Niner receivers they need a complete overhaul. They need 3 things. They need speed, speed, and speed. And without that, I mean, if Juwan wants to be your number 3, I'm good with it. But we can't pay him 20 mil. You know what I mean? I think you let him test his value on the open market, let him see what he gets. And if he comes back and is like, "Hey, I want to play with you guys still," and it's a fair value, then I'm okay with it. But 20 million, I think this team has way too many needs, and they have to get younger and faster at that position. And I just don't think it's doable at that price.
Mike says no. Aaron, what do you say?
They can't let him hold them over a barrel for 20 million a year. It's just, he's not that kind of a receiver. He's not dynamic enough. I would give him a number, maybe something with incentives attached to it. If he can reach certain escalators, like a lot of people do on contracts, and then let him, like you said, go let him test free agency. They really need to get speed in that wide receiving room. They need a lot of speed. And it sounds like a movie, but like, they are so slow. And he is one of the contributing factors of why they're so slow. He's just slow.
Yeah.
If he's willing to talk turkey with them and do business, and they can come to some sort of like middle ground agreement, maybe 2 years, 30 million, 16 million per, something like that, then I say, yeah, hell yeah, sign him.
Okay.
But they can't. They have so many other pressing needs, especially defensive line and offensive line and safety and other places that I wouldn't let one guy hold up the whole production. So if he's willing to do business, talk turkey, come to a lower agreement with maybe some incentives, then hell yeah. But if not, then see you later.
I'm of the grouping where there are 4 other wide receivers in free agency I'd rather have than Juwan Jennings, simply because you need to have speed. Alec Pierce, Wanda Robinson, Rashid Shaheed. You can sell me on a a cheaper Tutu Atwell in the slot. A little undersized guy, I get that, but he knows the system. Was with the Rams a couple of years ago, actually this past year. Christian Kirk's out there. Again, there's so many guys out there, I think, that when you discuss the pecking order of free agents I'd want to target, Juwan probably falls around 4 or 5. Good player, but there's certainly a hard cap what I'd offer him in free agency. We all seem to be kind of in that same camp of like, we like Juwan. We'd love him back, but if he comes back, great. But it has to be at the right price moving forward. The next guy, Mike said his name, Eddie P. I think we all can collectively say we want him back. But the next big guy, I think, is one that fans are kind of torn on, and that is Spencer Burford. Played left guard for San Francisco this year. Probably looked the best he ever has, moving from right side of the offensive line to his more normal position of the left side of the offensive line. Was meant to be the swing tackle, became the starting left guard because injury to Ben Barch. Shocker there. Who would have seen that coming? But when you see Spencer Burford's name out there and you think, do you want continuity on the offensive line, or do you want to upgrade? Do you want to maybe go find something better, or at least transition to a guy that can actually run block instead of being somewhat of a competent pass blocker? Mike, what do you think? What do you think about Spencer Burford, his future in San Francisco? And do you think somebody will give him big money like the Chiefs gave Jalen Moore last offseason?
Yeah, I think he's going to be out of our price range. I'm pretty sure once he goes on the open market, he's going to get, a lucrative contract, which is fine. Because honestly, I feel like the Niners have to make an upgrade on the offensive line anyway. They need a road grader. They really need someone that can push the line of scrimmage. And we saw there's no better litmus test than in your own division against Seattle, who that's the bar now, right? That's who you have to beat to be able to win your division, win the NFC, and they just couldn't get it done against that line. And if you're going to pay money to a guy, he better be able to move the line, and they couldn't even do it on a 4th and 1. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think you just got to let him go. I think number one, I think he's going to outprice himself anyway.
Aaron?
I'm with Mike. If you're going to spend money on the offensive line, it's not going to be to give Aaron or to give Spencer Burford. I would spend money on his position, but I would search free agency for it and see if you could find a better option. They're there's something with this coaching staff team where they just are so in love with Jake Brendel. But man, they could make some sort of
That's why
they can make some sort of
Really cheap.
change their mind and their stance on like let's improve our center and our left guard. Man, that changes things on this offense if they were able to get big inside and strong and athletic and talented and all those things. Yeah, I'm not giving Burford anything. He can go. Like he's all right. He's cool. He's solid, but
Okay.
I'm not breaking the bank on him. No way.
Let's do some rapid fire. I think we're all in the same category. We're okay letting Burford walk in free agency. We'll do some rapid fire. Just give me a yes or a no, keep or let walk. Mike, we'll start with you. Kendrick Bourne, yes or no? Walk. Aaron?
Walk.
Okay. Ben Barch?
walk.
Walk.
He can't walk
retain.
anyway. He's always hurt.
He might hurt himself.
I think they'll bring him back if Burford leaves. So I'll say they'll retain him. But obviously the health is a big problem. The next guy on the list I have in front of me is Luke Gifford, a key special teamer. Mike, yes or no?
I kind of say yes. Keep him.
Okay. Aaron?
Rapid, Aaron.
I'm with Mike.
Yeah, rapid fire.
Keep him.
Okay. Okay. Matt Hennessy, the backup center. I'm in a full keep mode. You got to bring him back. He was great when he played. Mike, what do you say?
Yeah, keep him.
Aaron? Okay. That's the pace we like, Aaron. That's the pace we like. Okay. We'll do two more linebackers here. We'll do them back to back. Give me a yes or no. Garrett Wallow and Eric Kendricks. I'm pro keeping Wallow, letting Kendricks walk. Mike, what do you say?
I agree with that 100%. Wallow has, he's younger and he's not long in the tooth like Kendricks. You can always find Kendricks later down the line.
Okay. Aaron?
I'm good if they don't keep either, to be honest with you. They can let both of them walk.
Okay. That brings us to kind of the draft need free agent portion of the show. We got about 10 minutes left here. And it's more about discussing what Dante Whitner said a couple days ago. And I'll sum it up for you. It's basically the Niners have to get tougher, stronger, quicker, faster. His exact words were they need more badasses. He went a little further than that and said they need to get some guys that actually have some mental problems. There's a line I think you cross to that because you want to have guys that play safe, but also kind of have the Dre Greenlaw reckless abandon style of football that we can't, or we do miss, but really can't play anymore in this day and age, which kind of sucks, but safety is obviously key. When you hear Dante Whitner, who played in an era where you were still allowed to lay dudes out, we all know that Pierre Thomas hit against the Saints. He just rocked him. We all stood up. We all went nuts on our couches at the stadium. It was like, that is the football you want to see. It's tone setting. He was a bully out there. And you want those intimidators, right? You go back to like Madden 05 and Ray Lewis. They all had badges, and his was the intimidator. You want to mentally beat your opponent before they even take the field. How do you do that? You make them scared to go over the middle because you're going to get rocked, right? You put the fear of God in dudes before they even starts. One, do you both think that's even plausible nowadays because of the rules? And two, do you think the Niners don't just need to get faster, but maybe can sacrifice a penalty here or there if it means putting the fear of God into some offensive players on the other side of the football? Aaron, what do you think about that?
Oh, I'm all for psychologically making people be afraid of you and think twice about going over the middle. That's football is as much physical it is a psychological thing. And if somebody's afraid of you, hell yeah. Like there's two. That's why I hate guys doing podcasts together. Like, can we stop being friends, please? Like, can we go back to the era where if you come over the middle, like the Demo hit, that was within the rules a couple years ago. He freaking rocked them, stuff like that. Play within the rules, but play extremely physical, I'm all for intimidation. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. We don't really have that enforcer, right?
No.
We don't have our Greenlaw anymore. People were scared of Greenlaw, and we don't have that. Like, I get what Dante Whitner's saying. He's obviously not saying like, yeah, bring a knife on the field and start stabbing other players. He's talking about we need that nasty,
yeah. Don't commit murder.
Yeah. Like, we need that nasty streak with guys who are just like violent. This is a violent sport, and you need guys with that dog in them, like that nasty streak that'll whack you and hit you. Not like, hey, great game, sir. That was excellent competition. I can't wait to run it back. Like, no, we need some nasty dogs, and I agree. We don't really have any. Maybe Demo is the only one on defense right now that I can really think of. Obviously, Fred Warner wasn't playing this year, but Demo was probably the only one on the field. Maybe Mustafa, but he seems very polite. I don't know. I want some rude dudes out there.
Like, there is that line of like, you want the Dre Greenlaw, you don't want Vontez Perfect, right? I think Fred is an enforcer to a certain degree, but you do kind of want that bully on the football field.
Yeah,
because he's actually year was even like that to some extent too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he also has nearly killed Trevor Lawrence like 7 times, so maybe let's not use him as the example. But I get what you're saying of like, you go back to probably an era of football you just can't play like anymore, which is unfortunate. But again, you want guys to have some health as they age. Like, you can't hit guys in the helmet on a consistent basis, right? There is ways to legally play that physical brand of football, right? Philadelphia does it. Now, sometimes they get some cheap shots in, but it's a bunch of physical dudes on the defensive line that want to lay guys out, want to hit dudes. You can go back a couple years ago, like, Kansas City to a certain extent, like, they'll sign anybody if it means winning football games. They don't care what you do off the field, which I think is not really what you want to signify to your organization or your fan base. But there does seem to be a lack of grit right now on the Niners defense, which they're young. Maybe they'll grow into that. I do think Alfred Collins and Michael Williams have that kind of bully mentality, and both being in the SEC, Texas, and Georgia. They're just really young. They can grow into those kind of bully type players. But I do think that Whitner is right from this kind of standpoint of, you just want dudes that scare offensive players. Because right now, the NFL is an offensive game. They've kind of geared things towards that. They changed the kickoff rule. You start at the 35-yard line now. It is an offensive game. Puka can do whatever he wants. JSN can do whatever he wants. It is a let the offense reign. And the defense is really constricted at times. But I don't know, man, like, the one thing I think about in those early 2000s, mid-2000s teams where it was like, you hit somebody in that first quarter, they get scared of those footsteps come third and fourth quarter. And in the big point in time when the game is clutch, the alligator arms something and like, oh, crap, I don't want to get killed in this game. And I do think that even Seattle plays the game clean, but they're an attacking, aggressive, get in your face, get in your grill style of defense. San Francisco used to have that 2019.
Yep.
I think San Francisco and Whitner's kind of talking about that, of get in their face and know you own them from the jump, be aggressive, talk your trash, but also play the game right and lay a dude out here and there. I know Aaron wants that. Mike wants that. I want that. The question is, can you find guys like that? And that brings us to the draft needs of the portion of the show. Aaron, Mike, when you talk about aggressive, give me more badasses, what's one area on this team San Francisco needs to find a badass player? Offense, defense, linebacker, offensive line. Give me one spot, one position. Where does that badass need to be at? Mike, what do you say?
Oh, it's hard to pick one spot, but obviously it's trenches. I think that's where the Niners have lacked this entire, obviously like a couple of years now. Their trenches on offense, they can't go for it on short yardage situations. On defense, they can't stop anyone who's going for it on short yardage situations. They don't have that dominant 3 technique that's going to rush inside and just, like they're a Jalen Carter, type defensive tackle, or, Leonard Williams who's going to run in there and just smoke dudes. And then on offense, they're very finesse on the line. So I think they have to upgrade one of those spots, get a road grader on both sides, D-line, O-line, someone who's going to move the line of scrimmage. They need someone to move the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball.
I agree. Aaron, what do you say?
I'm with Leon in the chat. I want to road grader, jerk, freaking mental patient, either left guard or center. I want someone in the trenches on offense who's freaking psychotic. Like enough with the choir boys on the offensive line. You know what I mean? Someone will take a penalty for punching someone in the side of the head. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. They're so finesse, man. Like the fact that Mike's right. Like we couldn't go for it on 4th and 1 in a playoff game, bro. Like our offensive line was that much of a disadvantage in that game. As much as I love to have it on defense, you can't really go too far on defense because of the rules. So why not become badasses on offense? You know what I mean? Get a couple road graders, maybe draft an interior lineman and sign an interior lineman. Boom. All of a sudden, we have 2 guys that actually, look like they want to play offensive line and not play patty cakes. You know what I mean? So, but we'll see if the Niners actually have the testicular fortitude to actually make any of those moves, whether in the draft or free agency.
Well, that's why I think a lot of us love Trent Williams. He is not afraid to get in someone's face, get in their grill. Yes. He punched A'Shawn Robinson in the face, Richard Sherman in the face a couple of years back. Like he's not afraid to, just be that silverback gorilla that you're like, I don't want to lock horns with you 1v1, or if you see me in space, I'm turning the other way and I'm running because I don't want to get bulldozed over.
Trent is that dude.
Yeah, and I don't know any prospects right now. I'll get into draft content as the months go by and the weeks go by. But I do want to talk about draft needs. We mentioned the offensive line. We want that badass there. We want that guy that is, will take a dude's helmet and rock it across his face and just knock him sideways, right? You want that enforcer on defense. The first round this year, San Francisco picks like 26, 27. I think it's 27. They, right now, according to mock drafts, which are always inaccurate at this point in time, we'll see as the months go by, but right now, they are seemingly out of reach of one of those top wide receivers. Concepcion, Lemon, Tyson, Carnell Tate, all those dudes are seemingly not going to be on the board there. If you're in the first round and you're the San Francisco 49ers and you're sitting there at 27 and maybe your board's dwindling at wide receiver, you're probably an overpay to go for a guard in the first round, right? It's positional value. Are you going tight end? You going Kenyon Sadiq at Oregon? Or are you saying, screw that, man, we want to get that enforcer now on defense, plug in next to Bryce Huff and Nick Bosa and Michael and Alfred Collins and West? Or are you saying, you know what? That offense needs some clear upgrades. Kittle's going to be out for some part of the year. Who knows how long? McCaffrey's off of 450 touches. Like, are you going offense? You going defense? Where are you going? Aaron, what do you think?
I would love to go tight end, even though I would also love a pass rusher or another really talented defensive lineman. Man, the Niners got to go against type this year, man. They got to do things differently. And Kyle might actually play him because he's technically in the first round. Man, if they could get a tight end that they could have there and at some point maybe even play alongside George Kittle. Say you lose Jawan Jennings, but you gain a really good tight end. Yeah, that would be my personal want would be if there's a tight end available there who can help you now this year and then be part of a group of playmakers once Kittle comes back. I would totally jump on it.
Okay, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I really wish they would have went tight end last year instead of Michael. You had to start planning for George Kittle's succession after, like, that was the time to do it. There was top tight ends available. You should have made the move there. But the thing that sucks is, we spent 3 high picks on defensive line last year, and that still seems to be a need no matter what. I'm not really big in the draft right now. I haven't really paid attention to who's going to fall where, but if Sadiq's available at that spot, I think why wouldn't you take him there? But I think we all know they're probably going to go defensive line, and it's probably someone who they could have gotten the 3rd round.
The classic John Lynch overdraft. Jed, turn the hot seat on a little bit for us here if you can. Okay, guys, this has been a great show. It's been really fun. And look, the offseason isn't even really started yet because the Super Bowl is in, I don't know, a week and 2 days. Pro Bowls this weekend. Enjoy watching Shedeur Sanders and Joe Flacco play the flag football game. I think it's on Sunday this weekend. But Mike, tell us where, as the guest, everybody can find you in the chat and on YouTube.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So you can find me on YouTube at SF Gold Rush. My main content is on TikTok. I'm on there at Fourth and Gold. Go ahead and check me out. I appreciate it. And it's always a great time to come do the shows with you guys.
Mike, you're great. Aaron, do the exact same thing. Tell us where they can find you on social media and on YouTube.
You can find me on Instagram, 49ers First Takes. You can find me on TikTok, 49ers First Takes. And you can find me here on YouTube, of course, at 49ers First Takes.
The same name certainly helps. And that goes for me as well. You can find me on social media at 49ers.access is the Instagram. 49ers_access is the X or Twitter, and on YouTube and on all the audio podcasting platforms, 49ers Access. Like, subscribe to all three of our channels. Everyone in here is great. Mike, Aaron, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Everybody in the chat, enjoy the rest of your weekend as well, and the Pro Bowl, like I already said. And as always, guys, stay faithful.